Have you ever reached the end of a really long, exhausting day, looked down at your to-do list, and realized you haven't actually finished anything that truly matters? It's incredibly frustrating, right? Well, here's the secret. You don't lack time, and you certainly don't lack ambition. We've all been fed this massive myth that productivity is strictly about time management, but honestly, it's not. It is entirely about attention management. So, welcome to this explainer, where we're going to completely flip how you view your daily grind. We're breaking down Thibaut Meurisse's incredible insights, along with a few other brilliant minds, to show you exactly how to stop chasing the next shiny thing and finally master your focus.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll cover the distraction crisis, cultivating the inner mind, the enemies of attention, focus rituals, mechanics of mastery, and finally, the focused lifestyle.
Section 1. The distraction crisis, and exactly why we can't seem to finish things.
We've got to start with a pretty painful reality. We live in a world that is literally engineered to hijack our attention. Entire industries spend billions of dollars every single year figuring out exactly how to keep you scrolling, pinging, and reacting. We're constantly chasing the next thing instead of finishing what actually matters. Which brings us to the core premise of our explainer today, captured perfectly by Thibaut Meurisse: you don't need more time, you need more focus. I mean, read that again. It's so simple, but it is so profound. The lack of focus, not a lack of hours in the day, is the true bottleneck to our success. It's really not about doing more, it's about doing what matters better.
Now, this perfectly illustrates the real difference we're talking about here. Take a look at reactive busyness on the left versus intentional mastery on the right. Reactive busyness is when you're frantically just doing things, answering emails, reacting to messages, putting out fires everywhere. It feels like work, but it's shallow. Intentional mastery, on the other hand, is when you carefully direct your energy toward a single, meaningful outcome. You're operating from a place of clarity and purpose, not panic. Moving right along to Section 2, cultivating the inner mind, which is the true foundation of focus.
So here is the first pillar of the inside-out framework. You see, we often try to fix our productivity by downloading some new app or buying a fancy new planner. But our external output is heavily dependent on our internal mental clarity. Look, if your mind is chaos, your work is going to be chaos. Meurisse breaks this down into 3 dimensions of focus. Inner focus is all about self-awareness, emotional regulation, and clarity of thought. Outer focus is the actual task execution and controlling your environment. And other focus involves empathy and relational presence. So the crucial takeaway here is that true mastery has to start from the inside out. You literally cannot master task execution if you haven't mastered your own self-awareness first.
To really hammer this home, let's look at this bit of wisdom from the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer. And keep in mind, he figured this out way before TikTok even existed. He said, "The greatest determinant of our happiness is our inner nature." Schopenhauer argued that external circumstances, like wealth or status, are totally unstable. What truly shapes our experience is the quality of our mind. A restless mind pretty much destroys any chance of meaningful external achievement. Inner peace and inner focus, they're practically the exact same thing.
All right, Section 3, the enemies of attention. Let's look at what's actually stealing your mind. So, with our inner mind established, we're stepping onto the battlefield. It's time to identify exactly what is siphoning your energy every single day. Because distractions aren't just external annoyances. We internalize them, and they drain our cognitive batteries. Here are the primary culprits. First up, multitasking. Let's just bust this myth right now. Multitasking fractures your attention and drastically reduces your output. You aren't actually doing 2 things at once. You're just doing 2 things poorly. Second, notifications. Those constant pings absolutely erode deep work. Third is clutter, both physical and digital. But the absolute most dangerous one is number 4, attention residue. This is that lingering cognitive fog that happens when you constantly switch tasks. When you jump from an email to a report and then back again, your brain actually leaves a piece of its processing power behind. You are literally working with half a brain.
I really want you to ask yourself, how much is distraction costing you? Think about the deeper psychological toll here. In his work, Ordinary Magic, Gregory Walton explains that human beings are interpretive creatures. We constantly make sense of our experiences through really small cues. When you're constantly distracted, those small negative cues, like maybe a missed detail or a rushed conversation, they can completely change the meaning you attach to your work. It can even change your interpretation of your own abilities. Distraction doesn't just steal your time, it steals your confidence.
Which brings us to Section 4, designing your focus rituals. Think of this as your armory. This is where we get tactical.
We're introducing the active tools and environmental changes you need to protect your mind. Focus isn't just spontaneous. It's something that has to be cultivated. Meurisse advocates for building specific focus rituals. Step 1 is a consistent morning routine to set the tone for the day. Step 2 is a pre-work transition. Maybe it's a short walk, some breath work, or a bit of journaling. And step 3 is a shutdown ritual to firmly, definitively close out the workday. These aren't just arbitrary little habits, they act as incredibly powerful cognitive cues that signal your brain to transition states. They reduce friction, they build momentum, and they basically tell your brain, hey, it's time to enter deep work mode.
Section 5 now, the mechanics of mastery. This is all about systems over genius.
There's this huge misconception out there that elite focus and incredible memory are just innate talents. That you're either born with it or you aren't. But the truth is, the absolute highest performers rely entirely on brilliant, repeatable systems. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how beautifully these different fields align. In column 1, Meurisse talks about time blocking, basically managing time to manage your focus. In column 2, we look at journalist Joshua Foer's experience at the U.S. Memory Championship. He found that memory champions aren't born geniuses, they just use ancient, highly systematic memory techniques. And over in column 3, Walton shows how small cues systematically redirect our psychology. The big takeaway: elite focus is a system. It's something you can learn, practice, and perfect.
And right at the heart of all these systems is the number 20. This is the famous Pareto principle, the rule stating that 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. Really think about that for a second. Most of what you do in a given day doesn't actually move the needle. This is exactly why Meurisse insists we must fiercely protect our MITs, our most important tasks. If you focus solely on that vital 20%, your productivity is absolutely going to skyrocket.
Finally, we reach section 6, the focus lifestyle, going way beyond just productivity.
Let's zoom out for a second. Mastering your focus isn't just some clever corporate life hack so you can churn out more emails. It is a profound lifestyle choice that dictates our overall fulfillment and how we experience the world around us. But let's be real, your focus is inevitably going to fail from time to time. You're human. When those setbacks happen, Meurisse offers this incredibly simple recovery protocol. First, pause and just acknowledge the lapse without any judgment. Second, reflect and identify what actually triggered the distraction. And third, reset and recommit to your MITs. The absolute worst thing you can do is beat yourself up over it. Self-compassion is totally critical here. Focus is a practice. It's all about how fast you can get back on track, gently and deliberately.
So the crucial point is this: choose depth over noise. In a world that literally profits from your distraction, saying no to shallow commitments and being truly present in your actions and your relationships, that is an act of rebellion. A focused life is the only true path to a meaningful life. You aren't just managing tasks, you are managing your legacy. I'm going to leave you with a final provocative question. What is your most important task today? Not your top 5, not your top 10. Your one thing. I challenge you, the exact moment this explainer finishes, to identify that single MIT and direct all of your beautifully cultivated inner focus toward it until it is completely done. Stop chasing and start finishing. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one.